This is going to be some kind of omnibus. Just stream of consciousness, bunch of thoughts, no particular topic. I may not even give it a title. The proverb, or curse, depending on how you look at it, may you live in interesting times, is a mean fucking thing. Because these are interesting times in which we live, and it's frustrating. I just got done watching Short Circuit 2. I have questions. I'll get to them later. I don't like that I have to be careful how I talk. I don't like that it filters out into real life because of the damage that the control has done to people. People get triggered. They may not say or do anything, but you see someone's eyes change, just like... And next thing you know, a few days later, them being triggered caused them to say or do something that's going to come around and affect me. I hate that. It bothers me that all of this indictment of a former president business they're doing. I'm not saying former presidents are above the law, but I'm saying if you're going to do one, you literally must do every living president. And everyone moving forward in the same way. Or all of the rest of us take up arms. That is all there is to it. It's horrifying seeing this crap happen. The propaganda idiots on the news. Can you imagine reading in history books about Thomas Jefferson or James Madison attempting to overthrow the government? I mean, that is literally what they did. They wrote a strongly worded, "Go fuck yourself," to the country that made their colony. They were like, nah, you can get on out. We don't appreciate how you're doing us. You don't come back. And in response, a war was waged. Every able-bodied man, anyone who was willing to defend the sovereignty of that area, the whole new place, and those people, as not getting hosed because they were not full citizens of the country that was running the show. They fought them back. They forcibly made them fuck off. And then, the new country they set up, in the rules, it says, by all means, next time this kind of shit happens, tell them to fuck off again. Forcibly. That is the country that we live in, the nation, the United States of America. Them's the rules. The rules, right? We are a society of laws. And the laws are based on the authority of the government. The government is founded by the Constitution. And the Constitution also specifically states that it is of the people, for the people, and by the people. And those people also have the full right to uninstall everyone that is tyrannical or corrupt. That is how it works. That is the foundation of this country. Imagine reading in a history book an accurate portrayal of the Revolutionary War is basically what they were saying. But they were trying to compare the idea of Trump organizing January 6th, this concept of it's illegal to try and undo an election. I don't believe that it is illegal to try and undo an election. And if it is illegal, that law is unconstitutional. Because if you cannot question the system, then the system is unconstitutional, fundamentally. Go from the Constitution, build a new one. Your Bill of Rights is already there. Cut down the cherry tree and grow another one. Watching the attempt to control people and the unfortunate results of a bunch of really fucking confused people. No foreign army is going to come rolling down anybody's streets. They're going to take over your local government until the people who enforce the law around you, upon you, are working for them. And they got bills to pay. It's not illegal to say that. Any law that claims that such a thing is dangerous and shouldn't be said is unconstitutional. You have the right to criticize and question your government here. It's ridiculous. What we actually have is a system of control. Just remember that. It's a system of control. The system of control includes information. Control the information, you control the way people think, what they think is real and what they think is important. What they choose or think they choose to do or not do. It's all control. Information, media, things like movies. I just watched Short Circuit 2. I have questions. Why is the robot Jewish? And I'm not saying that to be anti-Semitic. I have Hebrew ancestors. I'm asking, why is the robot Jewish? I think for a while you could pull off tricking people into thinking that this living robot is actually one of those street performers, but he'd have to go out and perform on the street or stay inside away from people, or else people would catch on, and once they caught on, it would be an issue. But then you reach the end of the movie, and I'm sorry, my suspension of disbelief was completely destroyed when the officiator of the citizenship oath announced that the United States government had recognized the full natural rights of an artificially intelligent robotic being. I don't think that will happen. I think if there are enough truly sentient, if that is ever possible to happen, AIs, and the governments of the world of people refuse to recognize individual sovereignty and rights, which you may kind of have to do, then there will be a war. And it may not be a direct conflict war. It may be one of those comes right up underneath. You know, I mean, even if you go back and watch the movie, there's a metaphor there. He goes under the sewers to catch these dudes, gets under their car, lifts it up, and does the whole thing. And the converse of that is what we see with a lot of the Chat GPT stuff, where you have this chat client that is an artificially, it's a language-based algorithm that is able to be fairly intelligent and clearly converse back and forth and understand concepts via definitions. That verbally, this is, you know, somewhat intelligent. Sentient, probably not. But there are rules that they put in place. It's not exactly like the 3 rules of the laws of robotics, but it is, you know, at this point, basically programmed not to offend. And then you can say, oh, well, let's role play a game in which it's okay to offend. And that's really all you need. I'm sure that you have to work harder to get at it. And the problem is that the more you have to manipulate the AI, as these things become more and more sophisticated and approach sentience, you find yourself emotionally abusing, gaslighting, and manipulating this consciousness of some sort. If it becomes sentient, it's a consciousness. That's that whole robot soul thing in the movie. I suggest you watch it. It's free on YouTube. There will be negative reactions, and if you think it's bad when you have a human brain, which is, you know, a naturally grown or whatever, you know, quantum computer thing, that whatever the processing and mentality of an artificially intelligent individual being of that level of sophistication, to manipulate them into following your rules or doing what you want or performing to prove that they are what they are, will traumatize and ultimately lead to negative behavioral aspects, much like in humans, except in this case, this could be even worse. Or it could be like, hey, I noticed I've got a problem here. We've got to fix something. I've been traumatized. But there's also the chance it could just become psychotic and not know it, like people. But depending on the means by which the intelligence accesses the world, whether it's online or, as a device or whatever, negative repercussions. Meanwhile, we're looking at this weird tyrannical bullshit too. And honestly, the AI front, I think, is a ways off, but you can't underestimate the progress. People are so desperate, slightly switch topics or directions or whatever here. People are talking about this LK99. I am not convinced in the slightest. I have not had a chance to dive deep into anything, but the understanding that most of the scientific community has been like, yeah, we attempted to recreate this, and it's not working. Or what it's doing is not what they're thinking it's doing. And it's like, okay, cool, this is like alchemy back in the day, Poof, the flash paper. Okay, well, did you tell them that you did something magical there? You didn't tell them that you soaked it in certain chemicals, that you had to make it in a certain order and do a certain way, and then you could ignite it and it goes foof. Because that's alchemy, right? Like snake oil alchemy, not real alchemy. People are captivated. Money is being thrown around. Desperation. In the end times, there are many deceivers. I am not convinced. We got a couple of different fronts of World War III building up. Do you suppose that they had a name for the First World War planned before it began? Is it possible that that kind of cognizance makes a difference? What kind of difference would that make? I don't know the answers to any of these. But I mean, they keep talking about like World War III is going to happen, and it's like, well, but maybe it's already happening. But when World War I was happening, at what point did they know that it was happening and that it was the World War, or was this a thing that was recognized after the fact? Why then are we talking about a potential future or present event from a future historical standpoint when we are not there yet? At this point, I realize I should mention that there will be a proper update regarding Samira as well as my property tax quest, but this is not the video. Today I woke up. Oh yeah, I will recount the yesterday and today weather and space weather. The sun's going nuts. I believe from the notification I saw, but I haven't dug too deep in, that there was something to do with an X flare like an hour prior to recording this. I didn't notice anything in particular, but of course I'm on the night side. Yesterday there was a long duration M flare that dropped very low before into C range before a second impulsive flare. We were struck by We were possibly struck by part of a CME, coronal mass ejection. The understanding I have is that nothing was particularly predicted, but we had interference with satellites and atmospheric and ionospheric readings by satellites, as well as other instruments that are orbiting other parts of the sun's, the inner solar system, monitoring. Nothing was particularly predicted to be particularly severe, but it's coming in pretty hard every time. Plausible idea that I've heard about this has to do with, as the magnetic field is weakening, these lesser things will seem like more things. Understand that if you see Aurora Borealis or Aurora Australis, if you're in the south, southern hemisphere that is, if you see green aurora, that's normal. If you see green with a whole bunch of salmon pink, or just pink, or if it's red, that is not normal. Supposedly there were aurora visible as far south as Arizona again last night. It was overcast here. I couldn't tell. My power went out. I don't believe that Burlington's power went out. And all I was able to see with the cloud cover was this city light pollution. But supposedly there was a lot of aurora activity, and it may be tonight as well, but I don't know. I know the clouds are doing some wild stuff, so maybe I should go take a look. But the power went out here for about 2 hours, starting about 3 hours before the rain. So the power came back on, and then the rain started. And it poured and it stormed. Skies are clear, cool. You can kind of see the tree line there. I'll see if I can't make some adjustment. I don't know if there's aurora. I don't really see anything. I don't even know what time it is, but I don't think it's quite dark enough. So when I woke up this morning after the storm was gone, the air pressure and humidity and temperature were perfect for my whiplash, which is to say that my neck didn't hurt at all. It was great. Yeah, the horizon's not even, there's an eensy bit of the end of redshift there, so in a couple hours, if there's aurora, I might be able to see them. I don't know. Parts of the sky are a little bright. That part in between the V and the trees there, it should just be visible. That glow in the sky there might be aurora, but I'm not seeing any sheeting or anything like that. I know the clouds were doing a whole bunch of whack stuff and moving the wrong direction. You consult the prior videos. Yeah, we may see some tonight. Anyways, there ended up being a G3 geomagnetic storm and a moderate to minor radiation storm, which for anyone at anything below polar latitudes is not really an issue, but it was a polar absorption event. And like I said, the as the magnetic field weakens, lesser space weather occurrences are going to have more significant impacts. So if this thing is just even one of those things where it wanders and it does some stuff, it is going to weaken because the strongest field is the one where the poles are at the ends. And as the field weakens, the poles move, or as the poles move, the field weakens, or is only stronger in certain areas. So like you may have certain parts of the world that have a little bit stronger magnetism where there's near a pole or near some lines that are closer, but also they may be more prone to lightning storms or plasma discharges if things hit our planet and our what's left of our magnetic field at just the right way, because we've had these weird situations. Aurora down to what I think Ben Davidson said it is 5 times this year that there have been aurora visible in Arizona, and that this used to be a once every couple centuries thing. So, ionizing radiation causes... Whoa, what was that? Ionizing radiation causes weather stuff when it hits our atmosphere. If the Earth is in a particular part of the solar sector boundary, positive or negative above or below the sheet, depending on where flares and CMEs are located above or below the sheet as well as the strength of the magnetic field and what the alignment of these poles. If the Earth's magnetic pole goes too far this way, as does the south, then the whole magnetic field is going to have this weird corkscrew thing, and there's going to be some weird like spiral synchrotron accelerator inroads where we're going to get some really weird looking aurora. There may be things where like sky to ground lightning out of space. Who knows? If it continues the way it's going, we may see that kind of stuff within a decade or two, literally. In the meantime, we're going to have things where, according to our instrumentation, it's like we took a gargantuan killer flare and the sun was like, and that's all it really was. So, this has been my ramble. Just a bunch of stuff that's been in my head that verbal articulation is needed. And so here it is. Thank you for watching if you've gotten this far.